We've discussed the massive, abstract financial anchors of the past, the state-sponsored frenzy of the Mississippi bubble, the colossal scale of war debt, the inherent dangers of the global housing market. But today, we confront a debt that is far more insidious, deeply personal, and almost impossible to escape. It is the debt that promised a ladder to a better life, but delivered a chain, one student, one degree, one signed loan document at a time. The cumulative burden now exceeds $1.7 trillion, making it the second largest form of household debt in America, only trailing mortgages. This isn't just a number. It is a financial anchor dragging on the economic potential of every young person who believed the hype. We confront the $1.7 trillion anchor, and we will forensically analyze how student debt is not merely a personal burden but a systemic chokehold on the next generation's ability to participate in and fuel the growth of the modern economy. If you are wondering why housing remains unaffordable, why startup creation is stagnant, or why millennials and Gen Z are delaying fundamental life milestones, the answer can often be traced back to the single, non-dischargeable, monstrous figure. The crisis did not emerge overnight. It was manufactured over decades by a pernicious partnership between government policy and educational institutions. In the mid-1980s, the national student debt total hovered around a manageable $300 billion. The critical shift occurred when the U.S. government became the primary guarantor, and eventually the direct lender for student loans. By federalizing the lending process, the government effectively removed all market risk from the universities. If students could borrow unlimited amounts, what incentive did institutions have to control tuition costs? The answer is none. Tuition prices skyrocketed, increasing at a rate 4 times faster than inflation, far outpacing wages and even healthcare costs. The system became a license to print money for universities, financed by the guaranteed loan capacity of the federal government. The borrower, the student, became the single point of failure and the guaranteed payer. And this is the defining, terrifying feature of student debt that sets it apart from all other forms of indebtedness. It is almost impossible to discharge in bankruptcy. It is the financial equivalent of a life sentence. Unlike credit card debt, medical bills, or even mortgage where the house can be seized, student debt is a non-discretionary claim on the future earnings of the borrower. It is a permanent anchor. This means that a significant portion of a young person's most productive earning years, the years they should be starting families, buying homes, and founding businesses, are spent simply servicing a debt that is fundamentally uncollateralized and non-negotiable. Now we arrive at the emotional and economic core of the chokehold, the personal cost, which creates the systemic drag. When a young professional graduates with $50,000 to $100,000 in debt, that monthly loan payment becomes an immediate, effective wage penalty. That $500 to $1,000 a month is wealth that is not entering the consumption economy. It's not funding the down payment on a first home. It's not being invested in a local startup. It's not purchasing furniture, cars, or generating sales tax revenue. The data is clear. Economists have established a direct, powerful correlation between high student debt and the delay of the American dream. Debt-laden graduates are delaying marriage, having children later, and staying in the rental market, further inflating the costs for everyone else. This delay creates the macroeconomic chokehold we must fear. The young, solvent, productive cohort is the engine of the demand economy. They fuel the velocity of money. When that engine is bogged down by $1.7 trillion in non-dischargeable liabilities, the velocity of money slows down. This depresses housing demand, making the housing market susceptible to the kind of structural weakness we discussed in our last episode. It suppresses entrepreneurial activity, stifling the formation of new businesses that drive innovation and job growth. It transforms a cohort that should be the most aggressive consumers and investors into the most conservative, fearful, and financially fragile. The debt is not a temporary inconvenience. It is a permanent suppression of economic growth potential. We must see this debt not as an isolated failure but as a silent systemic risk. The government, being the largest holder of this debt, won't technically default, but the burden is transferred to society through stunted growth and fiscal fragility. The promise of higher education has become the single greatest structural barrier to upward mobility for an entire generation. Understanding the $1.7 trillion anchor, its genesis, its non-negotiable terms, and its systemic impact on economic velocity is vital for decoding the financial landscape we all inhabit. You must recognize that this debt isn't just held by students. It is paid for by the stagnation it enforces on the entire economy. If this deep dive into the architecture of modern financial bondage provides you with the clarity needed to protect your future and understand today's economic struggle, please take a moment to subscribe. By subscribing, you join us in decoding the debt chains that define our world, arming you with the intelligence to navigate the inevitable volatility of these massive financial pressures. We have analyzed the systemic mortgage risk, but the debt cycle always finds a new victim. Next time, we move out of the housing market and into the garages, examining the next great wave of subprime lending that threatens to crash the consumer credit market. Join us as we shine a light on the high-risk, high-interest world of non-traditional car financing in the next default wave, analyzing the subprime auto loan time bomb. You will not want to miss this crucial examination of the fragility in consumer credit.